G'day legends, welcome to the latest episode of Beyond the Tape, a podcast where we chat to people doing rad things in the mountain bike industry within Australia. For this episode, we've got one of the main stages behind the Australian mountain bike industry for a long time. Told a lot of stories about people doing rad things all over the world, broke some of the newest components to the world. He's done a bunch of stuff to help a lot of people and is behind a lot of people's media careers, even my own, especially my own. JT from Revolution, aka Jonathon Taylor. Super stoked to have him on board. Before we jump into the episode, though, let's talk about some sponsors. First up, I'd like to welcome back Taylor Trails. They've decided to help me out for the last 5 or 6 episodes. Super stoked to have them on board again and can't wait to get down there in October and experience what they have to offer. You know, the fully tailored trail system where you basically rock up with your bike. They'll take care of your bike for transfer from the airport to the accommodation, which I've already sorted out. They've got all the best meals ready for you. They're just going to take care of everything. So all you do is pack up your bike, jump on a plane, head down to Tassie and have the time of your life. What else could you want? We've also got Trek. These guys have been making bikes for a while and I absolutely love them. My Fuel EX is one of my favorite bikes ever. I've been dicking around with the geometry for a while now, thanks to all the adjustments. And finally got it settled, and it truly is one of those bikes that can do everything. Once you run at the steep section, good little XC bike, slack, put some bigger tires on it, and it's not a downhill burly bike, but it's definitely an enduro capable bike. So to have something that just does everything is amazing. Shred Bike Care are keeping that bike clean. Absolutely love their products. Their bike wash is amazing. I actually used the ceramic coat on my car the other day. Helps keep the mud off from sticking, so I could just hose down the car after a bit of a rally-inspired session the other day. And loving their stuff. Frank Mountain Bike Apparel. Absolutely love these guys. These guys have been supportive for a while, and I know last year's I've hyped about the pants and the shorts, but honestly, there is nothing else in the industry I'd wear anymore. They are super comfortable, super durable. Absolutely love them, and they're a bargain. So if you want a better price, you can actually be on the tape at the checkout and get yourself a bit of a cheeky discount, which is pretty rad as well. Same goes for Fist Handwear. Been wearing their gloves at work with their new workwear range. Even used to wear their old riding gloves at work, and man, they are durable. Absolutely love them. Super comfy, grip the bars, protect my hands, last ages, look cool. Pretty simple. Go get some. And again, be on the tape at the checkout for a bit of a discount. Lead Out Sports are providing people with the best tools on the market. Abbey Tools, Pedros, EBT. Man, they've got some unique stuff. They've even got some brake pads and mountain bike components now as well. So go check them out. Get some of the best products out there. Capped Out Caps. Man, their custom caps are rad, keeping my head stem looking good. And, my bar's attached to my fork, which is quite nice. And Oakley are always keeping my eyes protected. Absolutely love their sunnies and their goggles. So check them out. That is enough of the product pushing. As I said, jump into this episode and enjoy it. As per usual, grab beer, grab a water, grab a wine, and grab whatever makes you happy and enjoy the podcast. Edit, so
I did not know that. I know that's really surprising. But there you go.
Yeah, it's fucking dumb. That's your random fact for the day. Should we jump into this thing?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, JT, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
G'day, Darren. Man, I'm good. You've finally locked me down. I've been obviously pretty reluctant to do podcasts. It's the first one I've ever done. I've been asked a million times, not just by itself, but it's kind of cool to finally come around and decide to crack one. I kind of really subscribe to this idea at the moment of like trying to get comfortable doing uncomfortable things to kind of, not hold yourself back. So, I thought this is a big one on the bucket list. Been wanting to do for a while. I'm a big fan of podcasts. I just been reluctant to do them because I'm a bit of a puss or just don't think I'm that interesting or whatever. But, it's cool. You've been peppering me and I'm excited to do it. I've always been a fan of your podcast. So, cheers for having me on board, bro.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate you listening over the years as well.
Goes out saying, man, since day one, I'd say. Yeah. And offering constructive feedback, like, I always ask you to, and I get you to like look at the mag or our web content or whatever and like critique me. I'm like, it's great saying that's fucking awesome, but it doesn't help me grow or help the product get better. It's like constructive feedback, and sometimes giving you a little bit of that and vice versa, and that's how we make cool stuff and keep stepping it up, up at the ante with everything we do. Otherwise, what's the point,
Yeah.
Off on a little rant already. Sorry.
That's good. You just the constructive part is definitely a big comment you got to make. Like,
I just think so. Like, if you just like, you gotta be open to being like honestly judged. Maybe not judged like, oh, I think that was shit, but just like perhaps you could look at doing something like this, or that was great, and I feel like this was a strength. Maybe that wasn't as useful or as valuable to the space that you have, which is obviously a precious commodity. A lot of the platforms that we have. So making the most and having the confidence to be able to say that to someone and have that feedback taken on board. And then I know it's something that's has really stepped up what we've done over the years. Absolutely, like I've had a lot of mentors and had amazing access to a lot of people that are in my mind creative geniuses, and they've given me feedback here and there, and man, we've just been able to really take that on board and build on and go from strength to strength and end up with hopefully always stuff that I'm super proud of. So it's a good skill to have. Something to be open to. Good little lifestyle strategy.
For people that don't know though, like, what are we talking about? Who are you and what do you kind of do?
Yeah, cool. So I'm Jonathon. I guess commonly known as JT. I've been a passionate mountain biker my whole life. My mum bought my first bike. I think my 11th birthday, like decent mountain bike. And then I was being a huge fan of downhill racing, like since back in those days I used to have pictures of magazines all over my walls as a kid. I was just such a fan of the World Cup racing, and access to it was so limited back then. Anyway, I got really into downhill racing after a funny little kind of step into it, and then got to a point where I was like racing. I think we're doing 40 races or 40 weekends a year for a while there throughout like my top end of high school.
Right.
So a lot of state and national, and then managed to represent Australia a couple of times. That was pretty exciting. And then from there, a lot of opportunities blossomed, and I managed to create, I guess, an outlet where for the last 20 years, I've been documenting the scene, traveling the globe, tracing trails, and hopefully creating a lot of stoke for people out there, and fueling people's journey as well. A lot of people that I've never ever met on a pretty large format, I guess you'd say. But I'm a magazine guy. I've been doing Revo since day one, 20 years ago. Obviously, it's a bit of a milestone that's come up, and it's caught us a little bit off guard. We're in full production right now on that. Well, I'm sure we'll touch on that a bit more. But in a nutshell, I'm just a very good dude. I live in where I'm right now, Blue Mountains, 2 hours west of Sydney, up in the hills, Australia. And man, I'm just a dude that loves riding bikes. I'm super lucky that it's all I've ever done for my whole working life, and still cranking. So man, that's me. I'm JT.
What years did you represent Australia? I don't think I ever really heard of that.
So it's like Oceania. It's funny, man. Like, it's kind of funny because that's where the mag started. And that's where my documenting, because I was working for AMB for a bit back then as well. And it all started because, I was racing, but unfortunately I was born in a really shit year here in Australia, back when we had insane talent like, Mick Hanna, Ben Corey, those guys a year older than me. Sam Hill's my exact age. And there's a bunch of guys that were in that same age group that we were contesting when, we come together at state level races, across like the ACT guys, and a lot of the Queenslanders would come down. Then on the national scene, it'd be racing, and you'd rock up and there'd be like 17-year-old Sam Hill in his Cortina and a t-shirt, and then I'd be there like with my kit, and I'd just be fighting for like 5th and 6th place. And that was kind of like that was pretty much how my kind of racing journey was. I was never fighting for that 1st or 2nd or 3rd, and it pretty much came obviously if I had more talent I would have been. But it wasn't so much that. It was just and I was unlucky, dude. I grew up with some insane talent. And I was, but at the same time, it was a blessing in disguise. I was fortunate that, I was able to ride with so many of those guys and learn from them, and be a part of the journey. And being around those guys in the scene right then when there was a lot of buzz, there was a lot of support, there was a lot of sponsorship, a lot of opportunities for teams and parts. So I kind of was able to kind of fly on the coattails of that a lot, I guess you'd say. But then, it got to the point, like, I did Oceans on the junior worlds team as like the reserve rider twice. And then end up getting an injury at the first ever Fort William, which was in the lead up to the World Champs. I think that was 2002. Had a little neck injury and had to stall the race. And then that was actually the race at Kavarak. I was down the finishing cauldron. I remember when Kavarak came across into the sight and he was like 8-9 seconds up, whatever it was, time, like mind blowing. But so I was just a little squid back then. And that's kind of that journey through those early kind of ranks of riding and being around those riders actually turned out to be what really spearheaded the mag and kind of put the mag on the front step straight out of the gates, because I already had these relationships. Like Sam was a mate, and he was, he's guard down, and all those riders had the guard down. I'd be talking to him. That's like, because it was just like went racing them one year to the next year, like stand there with my little tape recorder, and so I had this like awesome behind the scenes access, I guess you'd say, and that's really something we've harnessed, and it's really never changed. But it just had all those doors open early on, and super fortunate, and that's really one of the things that's put Revo on the front foot as well, not just personally, 100%. But like through the whole company. So but that's
it would have been a wild time rocking up to nationals and having like Samuel, Kavarik,
dude, it was loose, and the tracks back. I mean, it was like the Corey, like there was. I mean, I don't want to just sit dropping old names and whatnot, but I mean, I'd froth and do it all day long. I just don't know how relevant and exciting or interesting it is. The vast viewership. But I mean, back then, dude, like the scene was like exciting, like really exciting. You go to downer races and it was wild. Like the tracks were wild. The bikes were still kind of shit. Tires were definitely shit. It was a roll of the dice. It wasn't like a certainty, like, well, this guy's going to get down because his bike's in front. Like things were blowing up. People were still like drilling bits of their bikes out. The technology was exciting. Crew would rock up like with proper exclusive stuff. You'd Ronings and people would rock up with jerseys and stuff. You're like, whoa, and like just gear you'd never seen before. And it's not like you'd seen pink bikes, didn't exist. And just stuff was exciting. And then everyone's like lived for the after party. Sunday night was loose, and people were like nearly dying, like doing silly things, like get blown up. And it was amazing because we did all that. Like I wouldn't say it was amazing because we did all this stuff. It wasn't like that, but like the fact that none of us had these recording devices in our pockets, like it was just a different time, man, of like real, ride hard and have so much fun, at the races, and then the after party, and everything else would just be wild memories, man. Memories. And the crew from that generation, they certainly know it, and it's something we all kind of still share about. And heaven know you've been in the rooms with us around, and the walk down memory lane conversations start flowing about the good old times and the yesteryear. And man, it's just, I think that's kind of what shaped my stoke on mountain biking. Not so much the partying, but just like the wild kind of like, why do we ride? It's my job, but I don't ride because I have to clock on to ride because it's fun. It's the coolest thing ever. And like downhill, man, it's evolved so much. But I'm just such a fan still of the sport. Like I just I'm a super fan, I guess you'd say. And unfortunately, I get to have access to it and be able to document it still, and be able to share that with a huge audience and have a voice. And man, a lot of people don't know what I look like, I guess, but. Pasty, balding 40-year-old.
It's the market for mountain bikers nowadays.
Right.
It's funny, like you mentioned the parts breaking and shit. I don't know. I was like, someone had a complaint up on, I think it was Facebook or the Instagram or something the other day, and they're like, "These wheels have only lasted me 6 months." I'm like, fuck,
bro, man. Like back then, like that Jack Moyer like beating his rim on the EWS that a couple of years ago, and it was like Outback Mechanics, and it was like, man, it's amazing, dude. That was like most of the riders in the pits, like on good teams, like back in 99, 98, 2000. Like there wasn't, no one's rocking carbon wheels. It's like you got your Mavics and they'd last you, and you belting them. I remember the first time anyone ever rocked up with a tubeless system, it was Jared Graves. Think he was like first year Yeti maybe, and his dad, absolute legend, was trying to inflate the tire. I think it was a thread bow, like way back in the day, and everyone was just like, "That's the dumbest thing ever. Just put a tube in." And like, crew were running like Moto Trials tubes, like cut in half over the
Yeah.
rim, and then wrapping it, like fitting the tire on top of that, and then another tube in there, and then it was just tube upon tube upon tube, and that was front and rear. So like, it was kind of like riding down the hill with your tires full of water in terms of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tubeless thing came on. I was like, you'll never need that. But then at the same time, remember dropper post came along, and you're like, you'll never need that. Man, I could confidently say right now, if I had to choose between riding a single speed or probably even rigid or having a drop post, I'll take the drop post. I'm using drop post 1,000 times a ride. But it's funny, man. And it's been really odd. Like, I think we'll probably get to, but as I've been kind of in full production of the 20th anniversary edition of the mag, took the opportunity to pull out all the mags we've done and go for a little like flick through and look at some highlight pieces. We've been working on a big feature which would be inside that mag, and looking at how not just like I've changed, but how the scene has changed and evolved, and some of the trends that came and went, some of the technology that was launched, and people like, that is so dumb, we don't need that, and now it's just like taken for granted. It's cool, but I think that's what makes the hobby exciting, that it doesn't stop evolving, and it's cool. And I think probably right now, actually in 2024, is probably one of the most exciting times in downhill in probably the last 10 years, I'd say. Whereas technology's starting to get pushed again hard, and there's obviously like people have a full-blown advantage if you've got access to certain stuff at the moment, which I think is awesome, and that's how it should be at the highest level of sport. So
I agree. There should always be stuff getting tested and weird shit coming out.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And how cool that we can sit here and have a chat about it. And it's like a thing. People are psyched on it, and there's genuine interest there. I think that's really cool. So it's exciting time to be a mountain biker, as always.
When did you was there a point where you went, I'm not going to be a pro racer or something? And
yeah, absolutely.
You just do the full time. Do you remember when that was and how that came
absolutely. And it's thanks to Sam Hill and all the people that was born in the same year. It's thanks to my parents shagging in 83 and I was born in 84. God damn it. Nah, look, I think it was probably destined, but like back then, like the American Nova series was massive, their national series, the World Cup series was massive. So I started to get the opportunity to travel and start doing a few of those events. I had a business partnership and a really strong relationship with one of my still best mates, Rick Boyer. We were teammates on a team around probably the world's shittest suspension known to man, DMM, back then. And then that gave me an opportunity to do some traveling, started doing a bit of importing as well and stuff, which is really cool. But yeah, it's the kind of pivotal part of the year, like people would race and then you'd go to Interbike, which was a Las Vegas bike show. To say it was massive is an understatement. And basically you'd go there to try and like sign to get some sponsorship, right? Get some free shit. And yeah, like I was fortunate enough that I had some pretty cool sponsors early on. My first ever sponsor was Oakley. I still ride Oakley to this day. Yeah, I was really, really lucky to be able to sort of get a bit of support here and there. I was at an Interbike, and yeah, like I'd had my little neck injury and a few bits, and I was just like, it was evident like I'm not going to be winning races. Like I was purely making up the numbers, and I've always questioned why people do that. I mean, I get still being a part of the experience, it's not all about winning, but like you go to so much effort and the training and everything it takes, the commitment from everyone around you as well. I'm really mindful of that. It's not just like one person. Like back then, it was supporting my mum. Obviously now it's supportive like my wife and everyone. But there's a lot of people that go into the piece of the puzzle, and it was really clear I wasn't winning, or not that. Sorry, I wasn't winning. I wasn't going to make money out of this, so to speak. And came to a bit of a crossroad. I'd been working with A&B. I had a column in there that became really quite popular, and it's funny that I can get onto that if you're curious or if you're keen. I can tell you about that as well. But basically, yeah, we were doing A&B, and the editor at the time, Matt Holmes, I started doing a fair bit with him. He was doing 2020 match as well. I mean, Matt's just probably my biggest motivating factor in my whole career. He's still a huge part of what we do. But anyway, so he and I basically one day we were at Interbike. I was 19. He was a bit older, and I had my fake ID. We, it was end of a big day, and we're in this like random little strip club drinking drinks, and we were like, you know what, stuff A and B, like we should do our own mag. And it was like, all we need is bankroll this way. Matt already had a bunch of expertise in like the graphic design lay mags and the dynamics, how they work, and with business partner Mike Daly, who did all the accounts, and was like, we could just do our own. And I was like, came back to Australia and was chatting with my mum, who was biggest supporting factor back then. It was like, the opportunity to launch a magazine, and mags were still big business back then. A lot of them, I think we were the 8th magazine on the stands. At that time, there's a lot, like print media was very, very prominent. Like the online side wasn't there.
Didn't exist.
It was VHS tapes and print. And, if you want like race results, or, what happened at the world champs, like it was print, that was it. And so, we, Matt and I landed back in Oz, had another meeting, and we're like, fuck it, let's do it. And we started from scratch. We were like, all right, well, back then it was probably November. We spent months formulating the kind of concept, and it's like, he was like, well, I'll do the art side. I'll lay it out and make it look dope. And I'm like, cool, I'll create, I'll generate the content. I'll essentially be an editor, even though I wasn't the best at spelling, still not. But, basically I'll run the team, and I'll come up with a content plan each, and then reach out to the crew and bring all the imagery and everything together. And then obviously we had the accounts guy as well. And then, we created a press kit. We flew down, early in that year, early in 2004, we flew down to Melbourne, where the majority of the industry was kind of based. We were green under the gills. Luckily, we were kind of known, like Matt was known through being A&B guy in 2020 BMX, obviously, at the time, and that had a lot of clout. And I was kind of known just because I've been a person at the races for a long time. I wasn't so much like a rider that's on a podium, but I was just like around and through association with a lot of other people. And luckily that was enough to get taken seriously, and we got opportunities to have meetings with the big brands because of that. So we walked in, and Darren Rutherford at Giant Bikes walked in. He's like, "What are you guys after?" And so we sat down with our press kit, and we're like, "We've got this vision of doing something different, and something that doesn't just strum to the beat of the regular what you're seeing out there at the moment, and we're going to do something cool, and it's going to be aspirational, and it's going to be a bit punk rock kind of thing. It's going to be something that's genuinely exciting, and we're going to just see how we go." And then we got some, and for instance, Darren and a bunch of guys like that, luckily, were on board from day one. They're like, let's see. And so we rocked up. The Aussie Bike Show was in September that year, down in Melbourne as well, and we rocked up down there with our first printed mag, and we printed 8,000 copies of that mag, something like that. And that was it, man. We were off the races. The revolution had begun, so to speak.
It was cool to see that kind of BMX style coming into the mag, because I remember I was reading 2020 religiously. I think maybe like Dirt and stuff kind of was similar.
That was a huge influence for us, for sure. It wasn't so much the BMX like vibe. It was more just the rawness, I guess, like the grit. Like, we've always wanted to make a mag that really relates to the rider or to our core reader, We want to make it lifestyle. We want to make it just like now with our video content and the mags content, we want to make it something that is super, super relatable to our core, and know who our core reader is, and be talking to them, not to be talking down to them, not to be wearing a suit and their board shorts, but just to be, I've been riding, like, for instance, the style, I guess, to put it in perspective, the style of Revo right now, as it was back then, and as it's even I hope, now more so than ever. And whenever we review a bike or a bit of gear, and I say this to our review team, Blake, Scott, they know it super well. It's like, I want the way we articulate a review, be it through video or be it through an article in the mag, that we've been spent the last couple of weeks, couple of months riding this bike. We've just finished a ride, and we're sitting down at a cafe or in a pub with a reader, having a beer, and we're just explaining the experience of what this bike is, explaining the personality of this component. We're not, getting fucked around with spoke tensions and this and that. Because, at the end of the day, there's nothing worse. It grinds me gears so hard when, you have some reviewer or some editor goes to a bike launch or rides a bike and sits down and goes, the geo is wrong, this is wrong, and that's wrong. It's like, man, I am an engineer, and like the geo might feel wrong, but that's so subjective, right? And it's purely it's fucking ego at the end of the day. If you've got some dude that's just barring on about how this is wrong, that's wrong, they missed this. It's like for sure, some bikes aren't awesome, some parts aren't awesome, some parts break. But at the end of the day, like I think what's not most important, but I think what's most engaging with the viewer is telling them like how it relates, the experience of what this bike is compared to other bikes. And for sure, if something breaks or it's not good, then that's it's definitely got a part of the conversation. Like everyone loves the textures and the highs and lows of conversation when you can talk about positives and lows and all that. But yeah, I think the experience of riding and why we ride and what a certain tire feels like compared to something else, that's what's really cool. And I don't think it's like, take ego out of it and take that kind of like, I don't know, chip on your shoulder side out of it, which I think is still probably too prevalent. And that's kind of what Revo's always been about. And I think that's probably been a huge part of recipes to success across the years, is that, we make a product, be it in 3D or 2D, that's relatable and people feel a part of. People get loyal to, people love, people resonate to that style of narration. And I think they see it's fucking genuine, like we're not here to take the piss or to, be cash for comment. We're lucky we get to ride good shit most of the time. That's, we don't have to ride whatever it is, something from an Audi catalog. So, we're fortunate we don't have a lot of opportunity where we genuinely disappointed what we're riding, but generally really cool. And we just share that stoke and yeah, man, like it was a good ride. I want you to be a part of it,
It is, like, just to touch on, like, one of those things where it is important for a reviewer to know what geo and tech does, but how to relate that to the audience is completely different.
Absolutely. I mean, that just comes from experience, though. Like, you can't buy, like, you can buy your first bike and try and get your head around, like, the way dampening works and the way compression works in the suspension and the difference of, like, generally, like, tire pressure really does make, or width of it, or tire casings. But like, so you've got to have ridden for a long, long time for that to be second nature, for sure. But I think there's a difference of getting bogged down in those infinite details when you've only got, be it, a page, 2 pages, be it 10 minutes. Like, if you're spending the first 5 minutes or something, people are tuning out. Like, especially now, they're clicking on something different. I don't know, turning the page for sure. I wouldn't say they're probably picking up a different mag, but you've only got an opportunity. And I think, we don't want to waste people's time. You just want to focus on the highlights and the key things. And I like to think of bikes and gear as having a personality. I think I mentioned that word before. European brands have different personalities, generally speaking, to like maybe the US stuff. And then you've got awesome stuff coming out of Australia where you've got, people creating their own. And it really comes down to personality, I think, and that's really cool. And that's what sets brands and parts of bike apart. And at the same time, it's what makes some stuff traditionally shit. Like there's a brand of tire that we refuse to ride here because they're just so, I wouldn't say terrible, but they're like just so don't match the terrain of the landscape that we trails that were around here, and it's just that die. And again, it comes down to personality, but it's not to say that those tires are crap, all their rubber's bad. It probably perfects up, for Europe and those areas where they're like intended, but for here it's different. But again, it all just comes down to being subjective, and people have different opinions. Like, man, if you drink tea in the mornings and I drink coffee, am I better than you? Like, should I tell you, no, you got to drink coffee? No, well, of course not, because that's what makes us all different. Exactly. And who cares? Like, to each their own. Love is love.
And it's funny, like, I almost relate some of the brands and what people ride to, like, wines. Like, everything has a different taste of where it's been produced. Like, you can tell, like, a Yeti has been produced where it is, and you can tell that.
I reckon wine from Colorado would taste pretty shit, but I like your analogy. No, look, you're right. You're definitely
well, it's the same with coffee as well. Like,
it's regional.
Everything that's manufactured, it's regional, and that's why it works there. Yeah,
you're absolutely correct. I guess it turns out Taiwan produce a lot of wines I didn't know of. But no, I like your point. Then that's it. Like I said, like, But I think, man, what it gets down to, and that's why people resonate to certain brands, like, you know, people might really like a Giant, you know, for the Master Religion because they've had them before. They really like the way they write. They might like Santa Cruz because they like certain bits of personality. It's the same as like you might like this band or that DJ because it's that producing something that's familiar, and you'd hope each time they put out a new album or whatever, a new song, it's like it's that familiarity that we like, but elevated, like up the ante that little bit. New bloke comes along, a bit more tech, a bit more this, but like listen to lessons learned from the last one or whatever, or market feedback, and it's a little bit better again. And I think that's really cool, and that's why people resonate to brands. And I think at the same time, without keep harping on about myself, but you know, like I think that's why people dig Revo and why 20 years down the track we're still cranking. I mean, we've had people literally have been reading the mag since day dot. And people know what to expect. You pick up a mag, you don't know what the content layout's going to be or the landscape of that mag, but you can expect and hopefully be guaranteed that it's going to be pretty fucking interesting and pretty fucking cool. And like, we're not going to cut corners on, you know, the layout or you know, sourcing the best picks or having that best insight that we can possibly, you know, squeeze every last drip out of and get that in there and not dilute things just to make our life easy, make it life hard by going the extra mile to make something really fucking cool. And hopefully it's going to have a longer shelf life, and hopefully it's going to keep going back to it. And, you know, it's going to end up as it's cliche, but like a coffee table book sort of thing, you know, like it's going to be it's a magazine that you'll get and you'll hold on to. It's not like you'll have a read and be like, there's nothing in there. It'll end up with like dog eat corners out in your workshop, down the side of the toilet, you know, that sort of thing. Like, that's why we push and we work so hard to produce the mag that we make, and even like our online content, which stems directly from mag. Everything we do stems from mag. And, I mean, that's why I'm receding as hard as I am at 40. Stress. What is it? Blood, sweat, and use.
That's exactly it. How long were you at AMB for? Were you there for a while? Or?
Yeah, it's like 2 years, I think. So, the AMB thing was funny. Like, so it all started because I got really lonely when I was writing. So I've always been a big fan of like personally of like behind the scenes style stuff, like new product or exclusive little looks at things. Like there's a magazine back in the day that I used to love called Racer X. Now I was never super into motocross, but I love that style of documenting that was kind of like fly on a wall. You know, a rider would come out with a new custom helmet and had like a little expose of it. So when I was racing, I was spent a lot of time traveling, like I said, with Boyer and the teammates that I had back then, and a lot of time overseas away from like my mom. And you know, it's not like I could send her emails or FaceTime. Like, shit didn't exist. You know, it was like full blown pay phones, didn't even have a mobile phone. And so, like, I'll be honest, it sounds a little lame, but I don't care. I used to get really lonely. And so I'd be at the races doing this stuff and like having a great time of my life. But, I was young and I was spending so many weekends. And, when you go to a race, it's not Saturday and you're home Sunday. Like, you leave Thursday and you're back Monday night. Or if it's overseas, you're away for months' time. So anyway, I reached out to AMB because I was a big fan of AMB. I still got covers everywhere, mags everywhere from back in those days when it was dope. And Matt Holmes was the editor at the time. He was making some really cool content. The mag had taken a turn for the better when he took the reins of it a couple of years before that. Had a strong influence, like we said, from 2020. He basically brought 2020. But it was a very corporate organization. It was run by, I think, EMAP at the time. So they had like Women's Day and shit like that. And so under that kind of umbrella of the magazines they had. And anyway, I got in touch with the editor. I sent him a posted letter like, "Hello, I'm Jonathon Taylor. I'm a young buddy. And I've got this idea for a column." And then sure enough, Holmes got back to me and he's like, "What is it?" And it was basically this little gossip style column called In the Pits. DA Pits, Dar Pits. And so he's like, "Yeah, fuck it. All right." Well, and I was probably heading off overseas for next season soon. And he's like, "Look, we started," I think it was like an eighth of a page in the news. It was so little. And then I guess people dug it. And then all of a sudden turned a half page and a full page. And then got back that off season, had a meeting with Holmes. He was like, "Yeah, that's awesome. Like what you're doing." And then like my style of, I think he maybe tasked me to do an interview as well. I can't remember who it was with or whatnot, but something significant was happening. And I just happened to be overseas. So recorded something with someone. And again, it was probably because I think it was Kavarik maybe. he was pretty instrumental back then. Anyway, because I knew him, because I've been exposed around him, we sat down for a chat, and it was just like candid straight away. There was no like hold back or get to know sort of thing, and that style was kind of a bit of a fresh approach and I guess different to what was being done at the time. And so that's how my relationship with Holmesy started and blossomed. And like likewise, like I really rated what he was doing. And that, probably went for 2 years, I guess. Those days at A&B, man, they were cool back then. Like that mag was massive. I mean, it's still significant now, but like back then it was crazy. Like there was no such thing as digital photography, right? So everything was shot slide, and then like so we'd go down to the office. It was in like Haymarket, so basically I don't know if you know where Sydney Central Station is. So we'd go in there. It was like in this tower building thing. It was like old school magazines. Like you have the suits upstairs that were full on in suits, selling ads and all that shit, calling the shots. And you have the next level down was like, you know, the Holmesies, and not me. I didn't have a desk there, but I'd just go in there and
milk crate in the corner.
Yeah, and I remember actually it was funny because they had a couple of mags there. They had probably 20 mags or something at the time, and ironically, that I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, they probably had like 20 mags. They had like Women's Weekly, Gardening mags, Motocross mags, heaps of mags. They also had a mag called FHM, which is like a magazine. They also had Playboy, and I remember like early on, Holmesy was, because I was young, man. I was like 18 or something. 17, 18. And Holmesy was like, you should come, if you're going to come down to visit the office, come on a Wednesday. And I was like, right. So I came on a Wednesday, and it turns out Wednesday is the day they used to do like the roll call for like FHM, like the model search days. So they come down so anyway, I remember going there, opening the lift, going up to the elevator, the doors open, and it was just as far as you could see. It was like quite genetically gifted humans of the other sex. And I was just like, oh my God. And as like an impressionable, teen that had like barely had a social life because I've been racing bikes my life, I was just like, this is amazing. And then we'd get in the photo studio, and you'd have like Tony Nolan, who's still a huge part of what we do, and a mentor who's been the most amazing studio photographer ever. And he'd be spending hours shooting product, getting light and whatnot, and just seeing those early on days. And then but it was funny because, like I mentioned, the suits and whatnot that were upstairs at A&B back in the day were basically one of the main catalysts for why Holmes and I got so fucking over it. Was because, not so much me, I wasn't calling the shots, don't get me wrong. It was definitely Holmesy that was sitting in those meetings and whatnot. But like, he would go to an event like was the Red Bull Jindabyne event. Back in 01, I think it was. We'd go down there, and like Holmesy and he had a few team of photographers down there, like shooting, and he was like, cool, this is what I'm going to run as the cover. And he'd be in these like production meetings with these people that weren't mountain bikers, and they're like, no, you can't run that shot. And like there's blanket policies, like all action magazines had to have the rider going from like left to right. You couldn't have any like colored green in any of the fonts. The font had to be a certain size, it was so tedious. And that's, I guess, not tedious, but just it was shit, right? Like we've been like hustled and told what to do by someone. It's not a mountain bike, and that's completely lost sight of like who you're making the mag for. It's for mountain bikers. And so like that's then when Holmesy and I were in that Vegas strip club that night, chatting away like, fuck, we should make our own mag. It was like a real like revolution style thing of like, this is shit. Like, what are we just going to keep, like, I'll come and work for you at A&B and we'll just make this mag and get kicked around and told what to do. Like, let's do our own. And that free reign, that opportunity to do something completely different. That's where it all stemmed from. That's the A&B days. Yeah, man. I still talk highly about that mag, and at times not so highly. But whatever. Good on them. They're doing what they do. Good on them.
It's funny because like I was going through my archive of mags and stuff a while back, and one of them was A&B, and it had the Nathan Rennie World Champs interview in it. I think he just won World Champs, and it's like some reason he's photoed in a suit and top hat and with other weird shit.
Yeah. That's, man.
And that was like one of yours.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah,
that was a big piece. Taylor. I remember we shot that, right? So I was, of all the riders I had access to, I mentioned Samuel a few times. Rennie was like the rider when I grew up. I worshipped. I remember, I'm going for tangent, but like I worshipped that dude. And we became really, really close mates. And still are. Fucking Stampy, Rennie, man, no one shake my vision of what was possible on a bike, quite like you. Like some of the stuff I've seen him do in real life is like superhero shit. Anyway, but yeah, we did that interview, and I remember, we were like, it was pretty cool, man. It was a cool production value. We shot it at a pub in Western Sydney. We almost got in a fight at lunch, not because we were like drinking or anything, but like Rennie's in this white suit, which we'd hide from some shop or something, because we want to have like a 50s vibe. I don't know why we did that. I kind of can't exactly remember it. Rennie was in very much in the heyday. It was before he won the World Cup overall, but he was like the man. It was like his Yeti days. I mean, he's a man for a long, long time to come after that. But yeah, anyway, we were like, but like Rennie, I don't know, probably no secret. Like Rennie could hold his own, fistic up, so to speak. And he was a gentleman with a slightly, his gentleman's always had a slightly short fuse and being mindful of his own personal strength. Growing up, because he like grew up in the mountains like with me, like Kurrajong, right? So we'd actually been pretty close. Like I rode a lot of trails that he and the boys built back in the day. This particular day we did this photo shoot, and there was some like builders or something. Like it was a Tuesday. It was like nothing day. It was like a Tuesday at like lunchtime. Someone was like, "Yeah, you look like a dick," and then next thing I know, like Nathan's like flames coming out from under his neck collar, and it was lucky for those gentlemen that they decided to get in a ute knife. So, it was a funny day, man. That day, I remember that well. Actually, I hadn't thought of that. That suit was terrible. It was like that shitty cream color thing. But I don't think I have a copy of that one still. But yeah,
mine's destroyed. I think because I think it might have even had one of the photos from Gingerbread in it, which I cut out when I was young.
Yeah, rad. Yeah, that was funny. Sam won that Gingerbread event. He did the craziest trick off a drop that was pretty straightforward. He did a no footer, and everyone was like, "That's the racer kid. He's not going to do anything." And then he smoked everyone like Cedric and Grant Allen and all of the free riders. Just fucking smoked them. It was amazing, and it was a hectic bushfires too that time.
That's what made that photo so good. It's the smoke,
all the imagery. It had that like haze behind it. And that was the last time they did that event, so it was good.
Yeah, that was a sick event.
Yeah, man. That was but that was coming towards the sort of end of the A and B part of the journey. Before we maybe I worked for AMB for more than 2 years. Maybe it's like 3 or 4, because I think like Rick and I launched Citrus, import orange bikes, and I was certainly still in AMB. We were advertising AMB actually. I remember they hustled us out of a bunch of money for ads and stuff. So maybe it was a few years. It was a few years for sure actually, because Holmesy and my relationship really blossomed. It became very obvious that we not just got along, but like we were similar, like styles and similar energies, and it was going to be a good thing. So I think that's why making the decision to launch our own mag. And it's funny, like when you launch a mag, like hindsight's a beautiful thing, but like it's a lot more than just like, oh, we could make a cool mag, like we'll go print some. Like you're launching a fucking company, and there's a lot of factors of a company, like highs and lows, and it's it's known. Well, there's a reason why a lot of businesses don't succeed or don't make it past the first couple of years, like cash flow and everything else. And especially like magazines, they've got a real weird nature, like the way that when you sell a mag traditionally, like conventionally through a newsstand, and you're not getting paid for 9 months from when that mag comes off shelf. So you got to be able to cash for that, like cash roll that thing for like a whole year before you make $1. And if you're spending 20 or upwards of 40K to print a mag, and you got to have some big backing to be able to roll that. You can't rely on credit or anything. So, but that's all the stuff that like I really like blossomed into, like really like now. It's I'm like I'm a massive fiend for the business side of the business, so to speak. But back then, you just don't know. You're just like, off we go, and it'll all be rainbows and whatnot. But we were pretty lucky to have had a lot of people in our corner that we could lean on for advice, and they were fans of what we were doing and took us aside. So
and obviously like that mag rotation, as you're saying, is super slow. Like you won't see World Cup results for like 3 months or something. Back
in the day, absolutely.
Now everything's so instantaneous. Like, has it been hard to adapt to all that type of thing?
No, not at all. I think it's awesome. I think a part of the reason we've been able to adapt so easily is, again, like we got out of that corporate sort of chain, like being an independent publisher, right? And we're like, so if you think about like the magazine chains back then that had like multiple titles, they're probably more like a cruise liner, right? Trying to turn, takes the captain and the deputy captain and the like navigator to make the decision, and finally it starts turning a bit, and you know they're getting. Whereas if you're in a fucking independent publisher and you're in a speedboat, boom, you know you're doing cutties out there, cutting laps, doing circles. Like, you're really fast to be able to react and respond. And I think like, and because we were like mountain bikers and like genuine fans of the sport and actively like really into it, we were able to sort of sense a lot of what was coming as it came along. And I think also the fact that like a lot of our buddies and people were around were the ones like being instrumental. Like, for instance, the dude that shot the first ever cover of the mag, I've got a copy here. So this is Revo issue 1.
Yeah.
Shaneberg on the cover. Now, Sean Spomer shot that cover, right? Sean Spomer has been the backbone of Vital MTB.
Yeah.
Pretty much for day dot, right? And so, like, yeah, before that, it was like the coolest website in my mind was Sticks and Stones. I think it was called Sticks and Stones. And then it was Brian Notes Mechanic, Craig, Stickman, and like he's, you know, a good personal friend. But, you know, he had his blog. He wrote for the mag. He shot some stuff for the mag. Like, so, you know, observing what like the crew are up to, and like you catch up and you're having some beers, and it's like, I've got this idea, I've got that idea. And like, man, I remember sitting down and having a like chats with people that have gone on to be doing massive things nowadays that, you know, like heads of the MTB side on socials and digital. Mags
Stickman is SRAM now, isn't he? Like, exactly, he's the marketing manager. Like,
yeah. So he's like SRAM. I mean, like one of the dudes that probably still one of my favorite authors of an article I've ever read, let alone had the honor of featuring on our you know, editorial landscape, is Seb Kemp. Now Seb Kemp worked for Dirt. Man, I was such a fan of Dirt. Still am. And you know, now he's the head of marketing over at, you know, Santa Cruz Global. You know, you've got like Mike Rose, Dirt Magazine, Talking Dirt. He does a lot of work now with like Intense Cycles. I've done a lot, you know, we do lots of behind the scenes sort of chats there. It's funny, man. It's like, it's a big, like it's such a big scene, but it's small, if that makes sense. The behind the scenes sort of side of things, certainly locally, but then like globally as well. And so, yeah, it's a lot of our success has come from like luck, I guess, but also just opportunities, man, like relationships and past experience, working with people, having good vibes, you know, shredding trail at a bike launch in somewhere, and then they change roles and they like hit you up and like, hey JT, you know, still doing this, you keen for that? And a lot of our opportunities have come from I wouldn't say right place, right time, but just I don't know, good people attract good stuff. I don't know, good crew. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm a good person, but you know what I mean? Just like treat others how you want to be treated, and pretty simple, basic part of life. You know, a bit of respect here and there, and you know, just resonate and gravitate towards each other.
Especially in the bike industry, because you literally don't know where someone's going to be like in the future.
Man, I tell you, like, it's crazy. There aren't many people in Oz, like the local scene, the Oz scene, that have stayed with the same brands, you know. And that's probably not through any fault of their own. It's just through nutrition, through business restructuring, through all sorts. But I think it speaks volumes. And this probably doesn't relate so much to Joe Blow listening to this podcast. Not to put them down, but just the way your bikes arrive on the website or arrive at a bike shop. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle and people behind the scenes doing that. And but I think it says a lot about the distros and the brands that are able to have like low staff turnovers, if that makes sense. You know, touch on them, like, you know, you've got something like a Giant Bikes, for instance, that are just amazing. Like, there's the same crew there for so long, and they just keep kicking so much gold. And I think it just says a lot about the dynamic and the sort of integrity of their business as well. But you know, then they're not unique. There are other distros, but yeah, it's funny. And then you've got at the same time, you've got people from marketing roles and product manager roles and CEO roles that go from one brand to another, and you know, a lot of it's, like I mentioned before, Victorian based, and then they're back up in New South Wales doing stints, and it's pretty cool, man. It's funny. One thing I learned early on is never burn a bridge because you might need to walk across it next year or something. Exactly. I don't know. That's never been such a fact for me because I don't know, I try not to be a dick ever, but it's one of those things that you never know who's going to pop up somewhere else. So, but it's good, you know. Wish everyone the best, and if everyone's eating well, then it's great for everyone else. And you know, it's awesome. I mean, and it's like with Revo, like there's been a lot of times where we've had the opportunity to support someone's career, to give someone an opportunity, especially like creatives and whatnot. Maybe at the time it wasn't like intentionally like trying to support them to give them a foot up, but just, running shots, giving them a cover, a writer that's, maybe between contracts and we do something real big with them, a VO piece or certainly we've done it multiple times, done like a cover that's linked to a feature, which is then they've been able to then, get PDF and showcase to a sponsor. And that's, blown up and been an integral part of that career. I mean, I'm not going to list names, but there's certainly some close friends that are still very much racing, been racing for a long time. I'm fortunate enough that they feel like they credit a lot of their opportunities early on to me and to, well, not just to me, but to the mag, to Revo and what it stood for and the landscape that created and the audience reach that kind of being able to put them on and project them on, and I think it's amazing. It's super humbling, from someone like me. I never think of it just as myself. It's amazing we've been able to create something that's had so much following and that's been able to kind of make waves, I guess, and create positive change to a certain extent. Well, not positive change, but create positive vibes. I think it's been really cool. It's crazy. It's just, for sure. Yeah, positive. It's one of those like small pieces of the puzzle. But and again, I think I'm probably in probably a bit more of a reflective phase right now than ever before, just as we do the 20th issue, not 20th anniversary issue. But yeah. Oh, I mentioned to you too something about that.
The stats or something else. Yeah.
It spun me out. I don't know. I hope it spins you out. Maybe it won't. Maybe you won't give a shit. But so 72 mags, right? Like, because as I said, we're working towards this one. I mean, like, sorry.
That's one. So you do it one for
you. Well, it's meant to be. Roughly. Yeah. So we should be at 80, but we're a few behind because a mag deadline runs a bit late here. Blah blah blah. And again, we've had a lot of life changes across. We've had different structure changes in the business. We've had bushfires and like all these little elements, and global problems and pandemics and all sorts of shit. And so, if a mag deadline runs a week or two late here, there, and all sort of snowballs, and you miss one in a year, and then we're essentially down 7 mags across 20 years. We're about to 73. So, but whatever. So we've done 72 mags, about to be 73. So then I got the calculator out and I was like, okay, let's look. And so we've done over 10,000 individual pages. And if you can appreciate how much effort it takes, like every page in Revo is not a template, it's a blank page start. We have our like style guide, which is essentially the fonts we like. But yeah, so 10,000 pages, which is nuts. But check this out. We have printed over 1 million copies of the mag, bro, and distributed around the globe. It's actually nearly 1.2 million copies we've printed. And to put that, I mean, that's blew my mind. I was like, that's huge. I went back, did the zeros again, and it's like, nope. Because we're pretty, we did 8,000 for a couple of years there, then it spiked. 21 was the peak. It's currently at 19. But yeah, and then it's like, it's crazy, like across that many, that just feels like so many little slithers of paper, little trees that are being cut down and little slithers that we've printed our messaging on. It's gone, into the hands of so many mountain bikers across predominantly Australia and New Zealand, because it's just too expensive to ship a mag around the world. But we do have a lot of global followers as well, which is cool. But that number, that 1 million copies, if you had asked me that a month ago, I don't know, a couple $100,000. I never thought about it. I never stopped to think about it. Like, multiplier of 72 is like, that's a lot of fucking spelling mistakes that we put out around the globe. Sorry about that. That spins me out, man. There's a lot of people, like readers that like the loyalty and whatnot, that have not missed a mag, or people that came on board at 10 years and they've had the last 45. And even now we get a lot of through our web store, through our site, we have a lot of people hitting us up like, "You've got a copy of issue 14 and 23 and 6?" Because I just realized I'm fucking missing some. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's on the whole collection.
Yeah, and it's like, people don't people just rate what we create and produce. I think if you give a shit about JT or Phil or Matt or whoever it is that makes the mag behind the scenes, but it's just cool that we're doing something that's stoking people's fueling that fire and building that passion, and hopefully educating their purchasing decision and educating where they should book their next trip to, or what to care about and what not to probably get caught up on so much about. And I think that's really, really cool. It's amazing having the opportunity to do that.
Out of the 74 mags, do you have a favorite cover that you've had printed?
Oh shit, I probably should have thought of that. I got a few. Yeah, I mean, to be absolutely honest with you, I love every single cover we've done. So Holmesy was at the helm, doing the art side for the first, I think it was 7 years.
Yeah.
And then Phil took over. Holmesy always did really cool covers and whatnot, but I wasn't so involved. I was picking the cover lines. I've always picked the cover lines or come up with the cover lines. And one of the things I love about, and that's the coolest thing too about, that was exciting when we launched the mag, was we don't have to have fucking cover lines. There's a big push on a lot of mags. If you pick up, some of our other mags that are available on newsstands, you'll see above the masthead, which is a bit that says Revolution. Above there, it'll say, 21 bike reviews won, or win this, or blah, blah, blah. Because on a newsstand, you've got multiple mags sitting there. You only get that little bit of real estate to see. Whereas we don't give a shit, because we're well, people know Revo, know our logo, then they know it's going to be good. I don't need to give them a reason of saying, we've just tested fucking 10 sets of Lycra next. They don't give a shit. Open it up and flick through, right? But the launching mag was we could throw all the rule book out the window. You got to have cover lines, this, that. And some of my favorite covers, honestly, almost aren't so much the image, it's the wording. We had a Coastal Crew cover with Kyle blowing up this berm thing, and it ended up it was a Harriet shot, love, amazing shot. And it ended up getting used by on a few global mags around the globe. And our one just said, I think in big brack, real big, half the image was just we know what you want. Yeah. And it's I remember I love that mag. And then we've had other mags where it just says enter, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or exit through the bike shop. I don't know, man, the amount of notes I have on my phone where it's just these random little ideas I get for cover lines of just that'd be fucking cool. And our latest mag with Gracie on the cover, I love that shot. And then it's just real big, ride like a girl.
Yeah, that was cool.
Just personally, fuck yeah. Probably the most inspiring rider I've observed in real life this year, down at Medina earlier in the year, watching her ride, just mind blowing. Yeah. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that she's a girl and girls don't ride good, but just man, I've been humbled many times by riding with girls. Tracy Hannon back when she was still a junior, man. I remember doing runs with her at Ball and Buller and stuff. It fucking dropped me. I was wow. That's a turning point where you're just oh my God, I cannot keep up with you. I thought I had game. Thought I could ride fast. And just nah. And so, I've never, had a boy v girl thing or whatever. We've had some awesome females on the cover, Hannah Martin and Ray from New Zealand over the years. It's amazing. But for me, every mag we make has to be better than the one we made before. It has to be stepping up. It has to up the ante. That was something that Holmesy, one of the awesome things one of the millions of lessons he told me is JT, never fucking make a mag that wasn't better than the last one. Never do an edge letter that wasn't better than your last one. Never just do it. It's easy. We're on deadline. We've got to get it out. Make it cool. Make our job hard. Make it something that when people get it, they're this is dope. And so, every cover, generally it starts with the image. Sometimes it starts with the cover line. I know I probably frustrate Phil Townsley, who's our head of design now. Fucking amazing graphic designer. And one of the coolest people to ever meet. But he often I'll give him there'll be a folder with a couple of shots in there, and he picks the one that works. But sometimes they're from the same shoot or from the same corner, and we'll be just picking his eye is just amazing. He knows what works better than I do. I just give him a short list or whatever. And then even just the way we crop it, the way we move the rider up and down into master or away from whatever. And then the cover line. Some of the cover lines it's funny, just like I was saying, we're doing this big walk down memory lane, doing this big feature and looking at all the mags. And a couple of the mags we've done over the years, I've written the cover lines myself. literally drawn them, and then we've scanned them in and laid them over.
Yeah.
Because it was like, couldn't find the right photo, or couldn't like find quite the right texture or pattern or whatever it was. And I was just like, fuck. I'll just like, I'll do it, and I'll scan in and send it to you. And then Phil, because he's a genius, like just overlays that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've got shitty hand. I'm left-handed. Yeah, and I don't pretend to like have cool style or anything. But sometimes I've done those, and that's worked really well. And it's cool, man. We just try different stuff, and if it looks dope, it
works.
Man, coolest shot, yeah. People are like, how do I get a photo in the magazine? It's like, best shot wins every page. I don't want to harp on too much about how we've never done a photo annual, because we've done 72 of them. Every shot in the mag is dope. Like, we don't have the production behind the scenes of the mag. We don't have like a lot of magazines have a set budget. So it's like you've got 10 grand for content. So if you write lots yourself, JT, then you can have like the per word on that article. And if you shoot the photos yourself and it cuts some corners, then you can have the photo budget there. And Darren gets less because JT gets more, and but it's not like that. Like, I get my salary well after everyone else. But we just have a budget of like, this is what we have. Well, it's not even a budget like strict, but it's just like we spend X amount, but it's like, what's the coolest fucking photo? Like, we want Sven Martin shots on the cover. We want Sterling Lawrence shots. We want people to inspire us. I want, Darren Mallard's stuff. I want Stagsy stuff. I just want the coolest shit that we can possibly create. Often it means setting up a photo shoot ourselves or creating a trip ourselves. But man, from the opening spread, from the news section, new products is a classic example, man. That's number one spot where a mag or a website will cut corners and just create shit sterile imagery of fucking shorts that are laying on the ground and being held up. It's like, that's not good enough, and I'll be the first to scrutinize our work in the mag and say, like, that shit, it's not good enough. We've done so many photo shoots over the time where we spend a whole day getting together, creating it, and then we'll like look at it in post and be like, never gonna see the light of day, because it's just not good enough. So it's always like, why can't we making sterile, boring shit interesting, like energy drinks? If you got to fucking review energy drinks, which is a boring topic, and they look crap, then we like get all the craziest cool cocktail glasses you can and shot glasses. And if you're gonna review grease and lubes and get some movement in the imagery, gets like we use like a nail dripper, what is it, eyelet dripper, and get some drops happening, and or like get the like crazy like little bottle caps and different things that you can create, introduce texture, make a page interesting, so that when the viewer arrives there, they're like, one, drawn into it, but two, you're not wasting their time. You get there and you treat them with respect. It's like, this is something we think's cool, we think you should and that can be something as boring as fucking grease, or as dope as Sam Hill's latest bike. Like, it should all be treated, and it should just be as exciting if you can curate it correctly. And that's my job as an editor. People are like, what do you do, editor? I'm like, no, because I'm a shit speller still after all these years. I've never had professional training, but I can curate really cool content, I think, and we know what we do well, and we create good rad video content now as well. And we just like, we can create stuff that we know is rad, and we know our reader and our viewer, and we know it's going to resonate, and that's what makes it worthwhile, and that's why we put so much of our self into everything we do.
And so how does someone get in the mag, or like, how do you choose your reviewers and stuff like that? Was there a certain way you did it, or?
Yeah, so that's evolved a lot over the years, for sure. We've had, kind of like I mentioned before, like with the industry, like quite a slow change in regard. Like, a lot of the staff we have on board, or a lot of the contributors we have on board, should I say, tend to stick around for a fair few years. Even like, even the crew that were writing like regular columns, like we had Nathan Raney had a column in the mag, the first ever column, only column he's ever done for the first few years. And then we had like Sharples, and then we had like Sam Hill was in it for a few years, and he's, man, I'll tell you what, bro, don't ever let him lead you astray and like think he's just some like hillbilly from WA. That dude, to this day, he's probably the most punctuated writing. He'll send over an article and it's like, what? Like, full blown. It's like a professor from uni has written it. And it's before like ChatGPT or any of the cheating came on. He's a clever and articulate human being. You know, I digress. No, so I mean, yeah, we've reached out to people that we've been like, I've been fans of, to like see if they'd like to be a part of the mag and to do little bits and pieces. But yeah, it's evolved over the years. So in terms of being efficient, in terms of like the lead time turnaround and whatnot, we tend to work with the same people more or less now. That said, at least every issue will have a couple of new people on board. We went through a big phase of heaps of Kiwis in the mag, especially the creators on the like editorial side. On the imagery side. On the editorial side, not so much. It's probably smaller because, like, you know, there's a crew that I can rely on. And it's important, I think, to have a consistent tone, like narrative tone, and also just like have the same, that kind of get where we're going, like I was saying before, that style of chatting where it's relatable and you're kind of having a conversation with the reader, not just telling like a press kit. And it takes a fucking lot of time, like a long time, to massage someone's style. Like, for instance, like yourself, like when you started writing, it's like, you know, you'd write a couple of articles and like two of them would be awesome, like get straight away, and then one I'd send back to you, be like, yeah, maybe we could look at making the intro maybe a bit like this, a bit like that. And it just takes time. And now, man, like stuff, for instance, you contribute, and a lot of our other contributors come through, and it's just like, read it, get it edited, and then it's good to go. And that comes down to working with the crew for a long time. I haven't really answered your question in terms of what it takes to get in the mag. What it takes to get in the mag is, like in terms of offering advice, to if someone wants to get in a mag or wants to get on like a website, be proactive, get in touch. Hey, how do I get, you know, I think my shit's pretty cool, like in terms of my creative or whatever, or, you know, my like my narrative style. Send them reach out to the crew that you're like, there's no way I'd ever be able to get a piece on that website or in that mag. Send them some ideas you have as like a little, like you know, a little menu, I guess you said, of restaurant. So I've got I did this idea for an article, I got this idea for an article, and it's going to taste a little bit like this. Give them a little like snapshot, a little quick paragraph, and then, you know, the JT or whoever it might be out there will be like, that reads awesome. Like, I want to eat more of that. Like, like I'll pull the trigger on that one, and, you know, I'll set aside a page or two in the upcoming mag, and if you send it in, it's awesome, then that's you locked in. And that's how a lot of our content happens. And even to this day, you know, I've been messaging crew like last week and emailing crew back and forth and just planning the like editorial landscape and the contents list for the new mag, and it literally just comes down from crew kicking ideas. But yeah, being proactive, getting in touch with people, man. If you've got good shots, man. Yeah. And don't send fucking 400 images in, dude. Don't send like, oh, I couldn't decide, so you decide. Nah, man, like, here's 5 shots that I think are bangers, and don't make them all the same. Make it like, because people, like we said before, some people like coffee, some people like tea. So if you're sending something to an editor or to someone at a website where you're not sure what they like, man, send them one shot that's like a tight component, and then one shot where it's like a shreddy shot or a couple of shreddy shots, and then one shot where it's just like real you know, candid, a pick of the writer that's just putting the bite down, because you never know what they're going to go for. So you want to like give yourself every opportunity to get picked up, so to speak, you know. Take it.
100%. Do you think there's like, what are your thoughts on the current environment where you're seeing all these crew like on YouTube or something, and they just start reviewing stuff? Like, do you think there's a merit to having, like, you've got Scotty and Blake, who are fucking shredders and know the ins and outs of a lot of components?
Yeah, like we've got our editorial team and our style. I mean, and when it comes down to Revo, like it starts and stops with quality. Quality content, like we go the extra mile, make sure that our production quality is high, be it mag, be it digital, like good quality, everything makes good content, I believe. With YouTube, like, it's still trying to, like, YouTube's something I'm like really personally really passionate about. I rate it. But yeah, you look at like Insta Reels and YouTube, man, there's a lot of people now that, like, everyone essentially has the opportunity to have an outlet, right? To record themselves and put it out there. And like, go for it. I mean, it doesn't affect my life. what's my opinion on it? I mean, if it's not good quality, if it's just churning the shit out, or someone that's not probably reviewing a product that they've gotten ahead of time before the launch or whatever, or had the opportunity. It's just someone that's like grabbed something and it's like having a rant about it. I don't really fucking care, to be honest. But just because I don't want to get bogged down and like give it too much, like it's just not enough time in the day as is. But I think, like, I wonder why some people maybe do spend so much time creating that stuff just for the sake of it, just to get out there. Like, I guess, how can you put it? Like, a lot of people write a weekly shopping list, write a grocery list, okay? Doesn't fucking make them a poet, and it doesn't necessarily mean anyone wants to fucking read it, right?
Exactly.
Like, you can, sure, you can put it on Instagram Reels and try and get a following and like and push, but it's like, what's the fucking point? Like, I don't know. I'm not saying you got to like earn it or anything, because I think it's great. And I think everyone, some people have stumbled across amazing. Like, look at, there's a guy that's name starts with R that rides e-bikes, okay, and his channel was questionable when he first began, and now he's probably the biggest dude, one of the biggest voices and identities in all of online content for e-bikes. Wicked. And it all started from a small place. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying people should do it. I think it's really cool that people want to have an outlet, and it's not for me to judge anyway. Like, as I said, love is love. Like, people do what they want to do. Just someone doesn't affect me, I don't care. Push it down my throat. But for all intents and purposes, good on everyone. But look, what's my take on that? I think it comes down to the credibility of it, really. Like it's like you touched on. We got Blake, we got Scott, myself. Like, we have a really core team now. We used to have quite a wider team, but we've just figured out a way of, like, we've figured a formula that works. It's consistent and it's high quality. And so that small editorial team we have, man, those boys have been riding fucking long. Well, Scott longer than me, Blake a much higher level than me. And the opportunity that, like, they get to ride so many bikes through Revo, and that they had ridden before they came into like the Revo family, they'd ridden so many, and they had such a deep archive of experience to draw from, means that when they talk about something, it fucking deserves to be listened to, because they're gonna say something that has a lot of weight behind it. Isn't just like, I was told by this dude, and I read something here, and I read I got a press kit, and it was like, had heaps of Kool-Aid in it, so this is 10% lighter, and it's this. Like, who gives a shit? Did it ride better? Did it make you, I can hit something you haven't hit before? Did it make you ride smoother? Did it give you more buzz? Did it leave you thinking about it on Monday and Tuesday when you're at work, waiting for the weekend to come around so you can ride it again? And that's like, that buzz. And so I think it comes down to like the clout of the presenter. But that said, like, I can't get too stuck in our own lane. Like, there's a whole generation that Revo doesn't target and doesn't probably talk to people. Kids, they don't know what a fucking magazine is, but it's awesome because we don't talk to them. Like, when we're doing the editorial landscape of the next Revo, I ain't got 16-year-old kids in mind, and like that TikTok, like, likes and not likes and all that shit, and like, is stuff Riz or is it not? Like, it doesn't fucking matter, because like, one of the things that I'm often asked, and again, if I'm going too much of a rant here, feel free to.
That's all right.
Feel free to pull old Donald Trump up and start talking too much shit. No, but like, why is Revo still so prominent? Why is it still around? Why have we got more subscribers now than ever before? Why are we printing so many mags? It's because our core reader aren't 20-year-olds. Our core reader are people that grew up right with magazines, 35 to 60-year-olds. That used to be 25 to 45, then went 50, because everyone that started the journey is 20 years older now as well, right? But, like, our messaging, by and large, goes out to people like our demographic, you and me, people that have got the shit together, like, generally, slightly higher disposable income, probably aren't so much affected by, getting their first job or things like that. And so, the way that we're able to, like, relate with those people, talk to them, when I say those people, I mean, it's like they're a part of us. They're part of the family that's been along for the ride. And so that's why the magazine really still beaming, like, kicking so much goals, because people, a lot of, like, our reader we only put out 4 magazines. We're not trying to bash out one every month. It's thick in its quality, and when it comes out, it deserves to be held on to. It's, by and large, it's feedback we get. And so, it's people who've been reading magazines and grew up with magazines and like really value holding something tangible in your hands, getting an experience of like when you open a magazine, you're fully submerged in that page or 2 pages. You're not looking around at the screen. You're not like short attention span, like click on this, scroll, flick, flick, flick up, And that's why I think it's like, we have the duty to make sure that every page, every spread we turn is something that's good, isn't just filler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we treat we take our job seriously. We treat our reader with respect because they've been around for a while. They're probably not bought their first mountain bike. They're passionate mountain biker, been in the scene for a long time. That when we started Evolution, 5-6 years ago, that maybe brought on a new readership, but very very quickly they could acclimatize the fact of what they're going to get in a Revo and Evo, and hopefully they took the mag out for a test drive and they subscribed to it straight away. They like rate it, So I mean that's our, I guess, piece of the puzzle of why the mag is so powerful still, is because purely our readership of that demographic that we go to, and we don't try to bring in like fresh blood to it in terms of viewership. Like there's no point, it's not a dying art by any stretch, but it's like if we're doing it well enough and it's going out to like a wide enough audience, then why stop doing that? Why try to potentially subtract from that to run the risk of messing it up? So I'm not exactly sure the question I asked was, but that was me talking shit.
You answered something. What do you kind of do when there's something goes wrong on a bike in a review and stuff? Like you've obviously got this readership and the people you want to be, like, I guess, honest to, but you've also got to make sure the brand's integrity is.
Yeah, like that's a good question.
Well, like,
it's changed over the years as well. Used to be a point where something broke, we'd certainly mention it. We focus on the positives of how a bike rides, not so much the negatives. But that said, if you don't talk about like the negatives or like things that like something new comes out and it's like, I like this about it, that about it, this about it. But it's super important that if there's something you're like not fully convinced about, like I've ridden heaps of bikes where I'm like, man, I love the last one. I couldn't wait to ride the next one. I all of a sudden got the next one. It's like, it just didn't ride as good. And I was like a little bit disappointing. And if you don't share that with the viewer, then you're losing your integrity, Like if there's 3 or 4 or 5 really good things about something and you don't mention anything it's not good, then it's like, well, they really like it. Well, I think if you say something like, there's one thing we found, like, we blew the fucking rear wheel up, then it makes everything you've said before that so much more sincere. And that's how we really are. And that's how it's viewed, by and large in the eyes of the reader or the viewer, be it online. To answer your question, when something blows up or goes wrong, it depends what it is and how it happened. If it was rider error, for instance, here's an example for it, right? So we had one of our test reviewers, right? You take your guess which of the two it might be, exploded a wheel. And it happened because he hit a section that was rough and he'd been riding the bike for ages and the wheel fucking broke. So we got in touch with the brand and we're like, hey, the wheel broke. We're kind of like obliged to mention it. And they're like, yeah, go for it. So we mentioned it and we show images of it broken. But we put it in context of like, it broke because I was pushing as hard as I could on like a hectic rocky trail, blah, blah, blah. And it had X amount of hours. And so put it in perspective, give them the full picture, not just like, it broke these shit. But then, a few weeks later, and this is real life, I'm like genuinely telling the truth, we had the same rider riding a very similar track on the same mountain or same hill. And he's pinning down this section of trail and he didn't even get offline. He didn't even crash. Basically, a rock hit his rotor. The rotor bent, kept spinning, went up into the body of the brake, bent the pads, split the pistons, ceramic pistons, oil's pissing everywhere. He doesn't crash, but he like comes to a very sudden halt, manages to get off the bike. We're standing there, we're filming it too. We're standing on the side of the track, like, fuck, what happened? Like, didn't know at the time, like, what had happened in terms of the bent rotor that caused the brake to a piston. We're just like, huh? Now, did we document that and say that rotor is crap because it bent, and then it caused ricochet effect of the pistons break, and then no, because it's a freak accident. The rotor, like no rotor on the face of the planet is going to not bend if it has a direct rock impact at that pace at a rock that's like, you know, like literally the size of a I don't know, a big rock. You know what I mean? Like that's just gonna happen. So there's nothing for us to gain by making that thing, because it's a freak occurrence, and that shit happens far more than stuff just failing. Tires blow out all the time. Do we talk about it? If it's a tire review, for sure. If it's a bike review, it doesn't really matter. Like we just plug it and we move on. And where we ride is like really, really, really rocky, really sandstony too, which is good because it means we can ride the wet and still have just as much grip. But we do hit the road a lot though. Like, you know, we head south, we head north to get trails where it's like low and different size. But then I guess it gets back to something I mentioned earlier on. Like, we're really lucky, we're fortunate, we have the opportunity to ride a lot of cool bikes, like high end, more or less high end bikes. Now let me just set the piece in there. If a new bike comes out, like, you know, Giant or whoever it is have a new bike come out, we'll always ask for the middle spec. So there'll be, we don't want to alienate or be too elitist, be like, this is an $18,000 bike. Because as soon as like the regular Joe Blow that's maybe got that second mountain bike, will look at the third, sees 18 grand. They're like, what the fuck? That's like an elitist. But then if there's three specs, you know, you got one that's 10 grand, you got one that's 14, you got one that's 16, or whatever it's going to be. We'll always go the middle spec, because it's really interesting to see, like, that's the one that they're probably going to sell most of anyway, but it's just really interesting.
100%. Yeah.
You know, you can always talk about like what's above it, and you can talk about what's below it in terms of the spec and your options. The frame's going to be the same across all three usually. So we're always going for that. But so that's one thing to keep in mind when rev. We generally try to always not just get like, and I'm not throwing them on the beach, but like rather than get the S-Works model, get it like, you know what I mean? It's so much more relatable to the widest spread of audience, which is if we're going to go out there and review only one bike on that day, make it have the widest appeal possible. Makes sense, right? But then we're lucky, I guess. Like, we work with brands. We've always been fortunate to be able to work with pretty much the best brands. The best brands generally make the best shit. So we're not working with like B-grade crap that you buy from an online only, like full-blown shitters and generalizing here, but you know, that's where you run the risk of something catastrophically failing when you ride it, because it's designed shit, it's got shit parts on it, it's made for a price point, cut corners. Luckily, throughout our whole 2 decades on the stands and online, we haven't had to go down that path just to get ad revenue in. We've always been fortunate enough to have support from the big brands and that's been enough. You know, we've never been one to try and have to spread the net too wide. So again, coming around to answering your question, like, brands don't mess up anymore. You know, like,
it's pretty bikes
aren't especially like, we're not talking elite level XC where every gram counts or anything like that. Like, where durability becomes such a thing. Like, generally a brand's not going to want to have warranty issues. They're going to have done a lot of R&D on that shit. So by the time we're getting something, even if it's like a new fork or brakes or something, like, it's going to be dialed now. You know? So it's very rare we have something that's catastrophically fails, or that the design integrity is being compromised, or like basically it shouldn't have come to market. It's super rare. If we did get something like that, and if like every now and then it's never the bike, it's always a part is the weakest link of the chain, we find. The pun, obviously not the chain. But we could swap that out. Like, we'll swap out bars, we'll swap out sometimes brakes, you know, definitely swap out tires. Holy shit, swapped out enough tires. But just because otherwise it takes away from, like, it takes a lot of time and a lot of resources, a lot of dollars, a lot of time from a whole crew to review one bike. Like, multiple days, and like even just packing, unpacking, all that shit. Like, so we don't want to like waste that opportunity. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we've got to have integrity to review and make it fucking worthwhile. Like, people shouldn't listen to it just because we say we'd reviewed a bike. We got to earn that, you know. We got to earn that opportunity. So we try and we try and do it with integrity and stoke.
I mean, that does happen. Like, that But it's just funny. Like I've seen so much clickbaity, fucking this bike's too flexy, or kept dropping my chain.
Yeah, man. Well,
Or this bike's snoozy.
Yeah, we don't have an OnlyFans account. We're not trying to throw everyone on the bus. Like the reality is, stuff is good these days, And if it's not, I mean, I can't. I honestly, like, as true as the day is long, I can't recall the last time we got sent a bike that we were like, this is like dangerous or shit. Like it hasn't happened for. Yeah. In the last few years, though,
there was a really large brand of bike that was orange.
Oh,
that might have thrown me off some stairs because the e-bike remote failed on me, and
that's actually, now I'll give you that. There's some e-bike stuff are still having issues. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. That's not so much frame stuff, but yeah, man, I mentioned to you before we started this chat, like I got fucking stranded. As far as it was like the gods looked down on me that day. As far as I could be away from the car on the loop that I was riding, the battery ran flat, gears stuck, like because the rear mech was wired to the battery, and there's no way out of it, and I was stuck, and I like coasted a part of it, but walked for kilometers back, and I was seething. And the way I answered that is like literally, I just sent the bike back, and I was like, we're not publishing it. That bike never saw the light of day in anything we did. It was a shit experience, and I didn't want anyone else's experience. I was like, fuck that.
It's funny because like the issue I had with that e-bike that tried to kill me was literally like that. I remember the brand saying they haven't seen it before. Classic warranty line.
I had $1 for every time I heard that. That's never happened to us before.
Yeah. And then I worked for that brand in a shop and replaced numerous remotes that had a leak and would short and put work later. Like,
yeah, there's some bits out there for sure. There's still but luckily, I mean,
but it's not
2024. We're seeing stuff get better and better. That's for sure.
It's some guy in a factory earning $5 an hour is just not good enough sealant on something or silicon on a cover. Like it's not. Yeah. Or for getting a washer in a idler.
I don't answer that, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the case. But I'm not privy to. Never done a factory tour of things like that. But no, I'm with you.
It'd be pretty cool.
I think it would for sure. It'd definitely be cool to.
If it was honest, it'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, like get back to like before, like behind the scenesy stuff, like being able to not just like talk about, like, for instance, we've got a bike in the mag coming up that we've done a review on the bike, but we've also done a deep dive into like everyone that was involved in R&D of that bike, from the dude, like the brand manager that came up with like, all right, we've got to put out a new bike, to like then like the work with the like electronical components, the like frame designer, the dude that like rigged up the mules, the crew that were out on the trail tested it. Like I love stuff like that. I just find it so fascinating how things came to be, especially with bikes, because like they're fucking so expensive, and they're so complicated, and they've got so many different people are involved in developing and bringing a bike to market. And so I always find these articles really fascinating to put together and then to be able to like read and put out there to masses. And that's one we've done. That's something that personally I just find interesting. I mean, that's really what every page in every revo really is. It's like myself or the crew have an idea of something that we're like, we think that'd be cool. Should we do it?
Yeah,
we do it. We don't do it because advertisers are like, oh, you haven't reviewed saddles for a few years. We've got lots of saddles. Can you do a saddle review? It's fucking never once in our history of the mag have we done something like it. It always just comes from like, we have this idea or something cool is happening. We're using this. What do you think? It's like, yeah, that's cool. That's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah. What do you reckon is one of the best products you've reviewed, and conversely, what's one of the worst you reckon? Like, it's hard to put it out of 20 years, but
best product I've reviewed.
Was there anything that stood out as a game changer?
Zeb Fork. Zeb Fork. That changed the way like there's a lot. There aren't a lot of. So I love gear, right? And I love shoes in particular, not because of this, but like riding shoes. Because I love the like little nuances and little like personalities for each one and how they get better or whatnot and what fits me well. When it comes down to like gear though, when I was sent, we had the opportunity to ride that Fork before existed, so to speak. We're
Mm-hmm.
lucky that we get a lot of students to ride bikes and bits that are pre-embargo. That fork came out, and I didn't have a lot of heads up about it before. It wasn't like we were told, like, warned, oh, you know, I've got something coming out with thinking like. It was basically just a ride from overseas, put on my bike. There was a setup guide, and I went out and rode, and I was like, I actually stopped on the trail. I got down to the bottom of like the first descent, and I was just like, the thing changed the way I rode, like how staunchly stiff it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I've never had an experience like that without being a triple clamp fork. And I haven't ridden a triple clamp fork for like many, many years. And I had that thing on my bike, and I was like, wow, this thing, that was like an actual game changer. So that Zeb fork, like blew my mind. And like, it kind of took me a bit to kind of get my head around that. And then like I had to like actively hold back a bit in the review just so it came across as still like not just being bullshit, because I was so pumped. I was just like, this thing's like, it's amazing, like it's so good. We did this like first take of the video, and Stags it was filming, and then we reviewed it later and was like, Jesus, like I get what you like, I get your enthusiasm, but it's you coming across too strong. Like it's everyone's just gonna like fucking not believe it. So yeah, but I mean that was just coming from genuine stoke of a product. Like this thing's sick. Worst
I think it was a game changer. I didn't realize how good it was until I wrote a lyric again after it.
Yeah, I never felt like writing a lyric at the time, like the red lyric, like, oh, I really like found it lacking. Like I wish it was stiffer, or I wish it had this or that. I just used to add more travel to it, or put an extra token in to make it ramp up. Then the Zeb came along, I was just like, oh my God. And then I was here 38 came along pretty much thereafter, and that was similar. But it didn't have quite the same like game change, so to speak, because like all of a sudden like the bar in my mind had like been raised at that point, so I knew it was possible. And then like, look, the first time I rode like clicked into boost mode on a good e-bike, like good lever or something, that was a game changer. In terms of some roads shit, I can't think of a part. A lot of helmets, even to this day I ride, I hate. I don't know how they made to market, because they make noise on your head. The visor makes noise. And I'm not saying like I've got a weird shaped head, right? We all do, because no head sense. But if I can't get often we send helmet and they'll send us like a medium and a large if they're not sure what size will be, just so that a reviewer gets the opportunity to try both. I'm like, okay, cool, this one. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of product in the apparel that still comes out that I personally that doesn't suit me, my body type or my riding style. In terms of bikes, disappointing, I would say Schwalbe tires suck. That's just because where I ride. The last one ride, we just blow. I'm so frustrated. I've had many rides around with them. Now I don't want to throw distributor under the bus or the rand, and they're OE'd on so many bikes we get to review, but they just don't work for our style of trail, and that can be frustrating. But we're lucky that there are plenty of other brands out there that do. We're big fans of Maxxis for a long time. Goodyear have got some really good stuff going out now. Bonchar have got some really good stuff now. So we're lucky there's lots of brands, but that's not really what you asked, is it? So, again, that's just my personal what works well for me and what I rate. So it's not to say it's necessary for everyone, but hopefully.
I've never really. I haven't tried a Schwalbe tire since I ripped 4 or 5 side knobs. Man,
I think the sidewalls are made of glad wrap. The knobs feel like they're made of rubber, but they just vanish. They're like Houdini. Like they're there when you start riding, they're gone when you finish. Yeah. I've literally just had them clean cut off the casing. Dude, the amount of plugs, like we're lucky we get access to like free tire plugs a lot of the time. But like comes a point where you're like, why have I put 12 plugs in this tire? And I still like my ride's been wasted. Nah. But anyway, I'm not looking to throw one brand on the bus by any stretch of it. In fact, as a businessman, it's a very poor thing I just said. But it's again gonna note by saying this is my personal opinion, and where we ride is quite aggressive. Quite harsh on components. But wouldn't have it any other way. Things happen. There's people out there that don't like Maxxis either. Exactly, man. You don't see me flying only one flag, and there's a lot of brands like we're lucky as mountain bikers with sport for choice that there are a lot of brands in the market that make a really good shit, and there are more brands coming in the market making cool shit, and each brand's pushing each other brand to make cool shit. And I think it's probably a blessing too that now like filter down effects happening quite rapidly again. Product availability, accessibility is coming, and price points hopefully coming down a bit because mountain bikes are like crazy expensive, but like I think they are coming down a little bit, which is can only be good for the sport for sure. As accessibility and technology gets filtered down, so that's pretty cool. Like we're seeing access now much lower level than we've seen before, more accessible. It's coming on a much wider variety of OE bikes and model specs, and that's only amazing for the sport. That's literally making riders ability to enjoy their ride. So like something, if you got access to an access drivetrain, for instance, like your riding's going to get like already like through the roof compared to before you jump on it. Like that's just fact of matter. It's not my opinion. That's just fact. Like it's just good shit, and it's reliable, and it's awesome, and it works really awesome, and it's going to genuinely enhance the way that rider rides. So I think that's awesome that tech's coming to there, and in 2024, now we're seeing a lot of product like. Obviously, don't bog down too much the whole COVID thing, how that slowed up the industry. We all know that for sure. But a lot of brands held back releasing stuff, even though it had been developed and it was still on shelf. So I think now it's really exciting. We're seeing a lot of product coming out. Like it's exciting for me because obviously we get the opportunity to make noise around it and be like, which is our bread and butter. But I can tell you as a little heads up, the next 12 months, it's going to be a good time to be mountain biking if you're looking to maybe do a little upgrade because you can be able to see shit that hasn't been seen before, upgrade to something you haven't been accessible before, and it's giving you a price point where it's more attainable than it's been before. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like all of a sudden we're going to have $500 mountain bikes, but there's definitely levels, and I think brands are aware that things are only as good as they are if people can access them. And so I think it's a good time to be a mountain biker right now, bro. In terms of buying new shit. And getting the most out of your ride, the most enjoyment, most views and we.
Might start wrapping things up. Coming on about an hour and a half or an hour or so.
Yeah, right. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
For sure.
Like I said, man, I've never done a podcast before, and I didn't know what to expect, except I wasn't looking forward to one as much as you say no than I wanted to say yes. So this has been it's been a cool chat. It hasn't felt like an hour and a half. It hasn't felt like an hour.
No. Yeah.
It's been good.
It goes quickly.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I don't know if I'll be doing another one, but this one's been good. So what would how do we wrap these things up?
Always with the last three questions. You probably know a couple of them, but what advice would you have to anyone that wants to, I guess, get into the media side of things as a whole? So like whether they want to review stuff, photography, video, what advice would you have from someone?
Get good at your shit. Like if you're if you're a creative and if you've got a camera and you're down on shooting, get really good. Not necessarily get good, but just I think everyone, like I've seen enough work from enough people to know that everyone has their own style. Now they might not be fully aware that that's their style. Like I could pick your shots in a police lineup. Like if you send me 5 shots and I got 5 shots from another guy and 5 shots from another, I'd be like, damn, I love shots because everyone's got a style. And I think
too dark.
No, not necessarily, man. But it's cool. And like some people resonate differently to different people's style. But I think if you can hone in on your style, now that might not necessarily just be like your shooting style, your editing style, it might be your like journalistic style. But if you can really focus on like what your signature kind of style is and work on that, that's going to set you apart from the rest. And that's going to give you opportunities to get your work probably picked up more. It's going to give you an opportunity to like a brand to be like, hey, I've got this event that needs shooting. Like, do you know someone's, and like, if they know what to expect and they know that they're going to like what they're going to receive is going to have a certain look or a certain feel, it's going to certainly like greatly increase the chance of that person getting their foot in that door, so to speak. I think I'd encourage people that are, doing something they're finding a bit of passion in, to keep going, obviously, but just, to really focus on like stepping back and looking at their work, being able to kind of like edit their own work, I guess, so to speak, and be like, what's good, what's not, but like, what's my style, like, what's the theme I got here, which area, like, you can buy a camera and shoot 1,000 things, but like, different people like gravitate to like certain bits that they find really interesting. And I think just keep pushing on whatever that bit is that you find particularly interesting. It might be the composition, it might be the texture, it might be like close-up shit, it might be whatever it is. And when it comes to writing, it might be like the way you document something, the way you might be focus on being a bit more like witty, you might focus on getting nitty and gritty, like I think you want to give yourself every opportunity if you're going to present a body of work to an editor or a website or whatever it might be, if you've already like kind of polished it, but you haven't so much just try to regurgitate what they do already and hope they pick it up, you present them as something that is you on a plate, so to speak, because I think that's going to give you the opportunity of them being like, oh yeah, because it's like, trust me, there's a fucking 1,000 of you out there hounded and knocking on the door probably. But at the same time, I say that, but at the same time, you'd be surprised, I think, how few people go knocking on doors. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, if I spoke to I don't want to like create workload for it, but if I spoke to like the head of SRAM marketing in Australia or global marketing, I'm like, how many people seek out your email or seek you out on LinkedIn or whatever socials and be like, don't mean to waste your time, and with all due respect, here's 3 photos. Would you care to take a look at them? And the chances are, if they did that, like, one, the answer to the question is very, very, very few people would do that. It would probably be very, very smart to do it, because that person are just like you and me. They're just a person in a big role, but they get stoked on bikes just the same. If you've got genuinely cool shit and you can somehow figure out a way of getting on people's radar, I'm not saying it has to be those brands or whatever, but like there's ways that you can access people now like never before and create your own opportunities. And man, it's not really sneaky if you do it respectfully and do it, you're just kind of trying to like knock on doors and see if any open. And I tell you what, those people are pretty stoked to hear from you. If you've got something to offer them that's good, there's 1,000 ways to reach your goals and your dreams, man.
100%. I think like another thing is that people don't just do it. Like, it's not that hard to type an article on your phone.
No, it's not. No,
like,
I'm wrong.
On the bus road,
it's an art that people don't get. Like, I think the glitz and glamour of something is probably to stand in front of a camera and be like, talk or to take a photo or to hit a jump and get sideways and get someone to take a photo of it. But wherever imagery is published, it's generally accompanied by words. So wording is a huge part of it, and like I said, you don't have to be a poet, but someone that like can articulate something in a style that resonates with people. That's a piece of the puzzle that there are not that many pieces in the puzzle, if that makes sense. There's 1,000 photographers and videographers and editors, but there are like few people that are like, I think writing's cool. And there's good, like, writing copy, man, there's good money to be made in it. There's cool projects to be had in it. There's awesome opportunities to travel to do it. There's like there's resources. How brands are like crying out for that stuff. You know what I mean? That's definitely a piece too. And stay 100%. Off ChatGPT, because you can see that shit a mile away. Whatever it is, I don't know. I fucking don't even have it. But forget AI. Just write your own shit right from the heart. Write organically. Yeah, that's going to stand exactly every time.
Yeah. And being punctual and reliable, I guess, is another one as well.
How would you know that?
Me? What are you talking about?
When have you ever sent me something by due date?
Every time.
All right, maybe.
Literally, I think.
You're pretty good. You could be worse. You could be me. How many times have I hit you up? I'll have this to you by next day. I tell you, it's Taylor time. You just add a week or two. My wife knows it. Just ask her. Taylor time. Why arrive on time when you can be late? That's why I say. Why do something today when you can just put it off till tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's not true.
I don't ever expect anything quickly anymore. Is there anything you regret or would have done differently up to now?
In terms of my career and what we do?
Yeah.
hindsight's a beautiful thing. I think in terms of the magazine, no. In terms of Revo, in terms of the crew we've had, the way we've done things, the decisions we've made, the mistakes we've made, like there haven't been many, and like as a some of integrity or whatever, I'd probably keep harping on about. Like there's not much. So I'm like, fuck. Looking back, like wish it was another way. I think in terms of opportunities we might have missed. I've never had much of an interest with the social side of like social media and that stuff, just because it's not really like there's just so much of it, and there's not really like money to be made in it, so to speak, and it just feels oversaturated and like it's too easy to do it without quality. But our video content we sat on for too long. Like that's one thing that's a missed opportunity. Like our YouTube channel, I mean, if I had $1 for the amount of comments I read every week from people from all across the globe, like, this is the fucking best channel I'd never seen before. And we're just like, why? Because we were making videos like Stagsy, who's our like genius head of videography. We've been like, he's been doing our bike reviews for like probably, I don't know, 10 years, right? Longer. And for pretty much all of that 10 years, he was like, just as like, I'd be like tasking with like, all right, we need X amount of images of this bike to run in the magazine. So we get, certain bangers and certain static shots. We have a style guide. We do go out and achieve it. Wicked. But then in his like sort of off his own bat and his own time, he'd create a little subfolder in the like when he presents body of work to us, which was a video. And like it'd be me talking shit, or it'd be Blake, or it'd just be like sometimes not even talking in the early days. And I'd sometimes look at them and sometimes not even see them, and like certainly rarely would publish them. Just not even think of it because I was like focused on like mag deadline. Like, yeah, we'll get mag deadline. These videos they grew and grew and grew and grew to the point it was like we should probably put these out. So then I started like start a YouTube channel, put one up, and then like a couple months have passed. I'm like, oh, I might put another one, or we share them with the brand but never do anything with ourselves. That's right. We used to share them a lot with the brands, and the brands would be like, oh, that's really cool. That's actually a really really good review. But we'd never publish it. They would publish it because they it wasn't branded them. But it was probably a good, I mean, it felt like such an idiot for saying this. It was probably a good 2 or so years that Stags is creating like really good videos that we slept on and didn't ever do anything with. And no, it wasn't intentionally. We didn't not think it was good enough quality. It just fucking missed the boat by accident, or just didn't capitalize on it. Didn't, and we should have, because I genuinely believe our video content now, like when if you jump on a YouTube channel, like I mean, obviously I'm biased, but it's like we could make good videos, man. Like it's like it's Revo Mag brought to life. And so then that's something we're only now being like trying to like pick up the momentum on and put more out, because it's like we've got all this. We had the opportunity to be out there and create this content, which we've always been primarily focused on photos, but now it's like the video side is certainly really big. So it's something we're excited about and genuinely excited about. Like we get a buzz, like we get out there filming. First and foremost, as I said, is editorial, making like the mag pages. But the video stuff's been really, really fun. And that's something that I probably regret a little bit that we didn't jump on that as early in terms of we could have, because it was already created. That was, my bad. Apologies, Stagsy.
But it's getting some good traction. Like
now it is, for sure. I mean, it's hard. Like it's cool if you're on like Meta platform, you can just throw money behind it, right? And like spread your net wider, and your fucking half-assed video goes out to a massive audience. Whereas like the Google side, like YouTube side, it's got to be pretty much organically,
very much
populated. So it's a lot more difficult, but at the same time, good content comes to the forefront. And so every now and then we could put something out where it like grows pop. How like we're getting on the radar of a lot more people on that front. So video stuff's really exciting. It's the mag is very much our primary focus. 20 years on and moving forward, it will continue to be. But then our video side, we're really enjoying, and that's definitely a big part of what we're doing. And it's really fun doing a lot of collabs with brands, and the opportunities that video side opens up is really cool, because it gives us the opportunity. Obviously, like we've created a mag, which physical mag, we talked about the properties of that, but we've only got the opportunity to do that 4 or 5 times a year, whereas we can do
whenever.
So it's been fun, and it's the same personalities and faces behind the mag on there. So it's been really fun.
Last question. It seems to be the hardest for a few people, but if you're lacking motivation, or you don't want to go out and test something, Is there anything you do to kind of get up and get out there? Is there any music you listen to? Any process you go through?
All right, here's a question you're playing for. I can pretty honestly say I generally don't lack motivation. I think maybe it's been doing it so long. Like in terms of workload, man, if I lack motivation, I just think fucking boost mode. Like get on an e-bike with boost mode and you're gonna be motivated. Because like, you're gonna have those endorphins like pumping through your veins. And bro, I don't know, man. Like how do you like
100%.
lack motivation? Like what I do for a job is I'm so lucky to be able to do it, man. Like I eat, breathe, sleep, shit mountain bikes, right? Like eat, breathe, eat, and shit mountain bikes. But it's it's the ultimate. Like I'm dealing with like a lot of the times we're dealing with bikes that don't exist yet, opportunities to check out stuff, bring embargo. I get to work with brands that are amazing, create a mag. Like people are going off to work to do 9 to 5. Like, yeah, I'm doing like crazy long hours, but it's not hard. It's just long. But then you get to ride bikes. Like if the weather's shit, sweet. Guess what? I've got like a whole store. Like we've got access to a whole storeroom of like dope shit that keeps you warm when you're riding. And I don't lack motivation there. I think the things I find I lack motivation on or are reluctant to do, not so much work things. It's more other thing. Like I'm a pussy to like having a blood test, for instance. Like I have irrational phobias about things, that whatever. But I've like to find motivation now. I was thinking of my kids. Sorry, but I just now I can live my life through them a bit. They're my biggest motivation, I guess. There, in terms of like if I don't want to do something like with work or if there's a trip I don't want to go on or anything now, like I think I'm at a age and stage where I just won't do it. Like with all due respect, there's just it's not something that I'll be do or I'll try and sub someone else in for, but it's very, very rare that I'll come across something I genuinely don't want to do. In terms of like accounts meetings and stuff like that, I love it, man. I love the behind the scenes side of business and growing business and profitability and everything else. So those and I'm lucky we don't have a lot of hard conversations. Like we don't have conflict resolution or anything like with the business. Like because man, the team we've got involved here are fucking awesome. Like they're all people that genuinely enjoy their company. Like I call everyone that works for a genuine friend. And even like people that print the mag, like a lot of those guys down there at the factories ride bikes. So man, I'm lucky. There's not many things I don't look forward to in terms of like the workload I have to do in a day. The day's long, but they're enjoyable. And at the end of the day, the subject matter I deal with is it's not lost on me the fact of how lucky I am to be able to sit in this seat, literally this seat, every day. And I mean, I have to leave my job. I ask my wife. I do this shit 7 days a week. I'm always accessible on the phone to certain people. When that number flashes up, which is cool because it's interweaved into my lifestyle. It's everything that I am. But I'm fortunate to it. I'm passionate about it still. It's awesome, and I'm looking forward to a lot of more years of it to come. And seeing how it continues to evolve and the difference we can hopefully keep making and the impact we can have on people's lives in a positive way, hopefully, and create stoke and inspire.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's right, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on. As I said, it's been a while. Trying to get this
apologies. No, it has. I've been reluctant to do it, but it's been really fun. And hopefully the viewer or the listener enjoys it. Apologies in advance if you don't. But cheers, everyone.
I'll give him a refund. It's fine.
That's it. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate it, man. How we going, bro?
Easy, man. We'll speak soon. There we go. That was the interview with JT. What a legend. He's done a lot for the mountain bike industry and changed the face of media, I think, in a lot of places. So pretty cool to see them innovating and developing all the time. As I said in my long-winded intro, this podcast wouldn't be available without the support of our sponsors, Tailored Trails, the best trail experience down Tassie, Franked Mountain Bike Apparel, Shred Bike Care, Fist Handwear, almost forgot Trek Bikes, Lead Out Sports, Cut Out Caps, and Oakley. If you want to make this podcast better, share it around with the people. I'm honestly not pushing it too hard because we've only got about 4 more episodes left. But tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your nana, tell your dog, tell whoever, get them to enjoy this podcast as well because I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next one, go out and have a bunch of fun.